Hi there, my name is Aaron Lanterman. I'm a professor of electrical and computer engineering at Georgia Tech, and today I would like to build a one-pole filter of a low-pass nature using a capacitor and a resistor. We're going to assume, as usual, that the input is being provided by some sort of ideal voltage source, but as is our convention, since we've labeled it as an input, I won't explicitly write that voltage source in. Similarly, the output is being measured by something with a high impedance, so we'll be able to analyze the circuit without thinking about how whatever is following it is loading it down. It will be convenient to analyze this circuit in the Laplace domain, so I'm actually going to write the output here using a capital V to indicate its Laplaciness, and the S represents our Laplace transform variable. Now, you don't really need to know anything about Laplace transforms to cover what I'm going to be doing in this lecture. You can think of S as something temporary. We'll eventually come along and plug in j omega for S to figure out what the frequency response is. So instead of resistances, we'll be using impedances, which are an extension of the idea of resistances. The impedance of a resistor is not terribly interesting, it's just R, and the impedance of a capacitor is 1 over C, the capacitance of the capacitor, times S. So I can write the output in the Laplace domain using a voltage divider. What am I dividing over? Well, I'm dividing the voltage over the capacitance, and then in the denominator I have the sum of the impedances. So I'll have R plus 1 over CS times the input in the Laplace domain. And let me clear the fraction here, so I'll write this as 1 over RCS plus 1. This results from multiplying the numerator and the denominator by CS. And let me rewrite this once more as 1 over RC divided by S plus 1 over RC. So here I've divided the numerator and the denominator by RC. This is all times VIS. Now, if we were thinking about this in terms of the time domain, we would usually say we have a time constant tau that equals RC. But for the purposes of today's lecture, I would like to think about the frequency domain. So instead, what I would like to do is call 1 over RC omega C. Later, I'll show you that omega C is the half-power cutoff point, which is why I'm using C here to stand for cutoff. So let's write this as omega C over S plus omega C, and then I have my VIS. Now, what do we have here? We have an input to a linear time invariant system described by the circuit, multiplied by a Laplace domain function that gives us our output. So we often will characterize systems like this in terms of what we'll call a transfer function or a system function, and that is this mess here. So we'll call that HS for our transfer function. So we can write Vs is equal to H of S times VIS. So from this point forward, we're mostly going to be focusing on the characteristics of HS. This refers to a one-pole filter that arises basically from the fact that we have one capacitor in the circuit that we're analyzing. Poles are the places in a transfer function where the transfer function blows up to infinity, basically in our case here, where the denominator goes to 0. So the pole for this filter is sitting at minus omega C. And I can also do some sanity checks on this by looking at the frequency response. Now, I can get the frequency response by taking the transfer function and evaluating it at j omega. There's a bunch of technical conditions about the imaginary axis having to be in the region of convergence of the Laplace transform, yada, yada, yada. We don't really need to worry about those details here. So I'm going to make an abusive notation where I'll write big H j omega for the frequency response. That's the same notation I'm using for the Laplace transform, but you can see with the substitution argument, you can see why that abusive notation makes sense. So this frequency response describes how the system responds to sinusoids. The amplitude of a sinusoid coming in is going to get multiplied by the magnitude of the frequency response, but the phase of the sinusoid is going to be shifted by the angle of the frequency response. And in the case of that magnitude and that phase, those are computed by plugging in the frequency of the sinusoid for omega. So with that, I can do some sanity checks. If I ask what is J0, that's corresponding to quote-unquote DC. That's corresponding to a constant, which is a minimally wiggling sinusoid, and that it's not wiggling at all. So what happens if I plug in J0 for S? Well, that's just 0. I wind up with omega C over omega C, which is equal to 1. So at a frequency of 0, the frequency response is 1. So constants go through without any change. What about if I were to evaluate it at infinity? And I'm going to put this in quotes. What I really mean here is I'm asking something like, well, what is the limit as omega goes to infinity of big H j omega? But I'm not going to bother being so formal here. Basically, it's pretty easy to see that in this expression, if you plug in j omega for S and let omega go to infinity, the numerator is a constant, the denominator is going to be something going to infinity, and so this whole thing is eventually going to go to 0 in the limit. So it makes sense to call this a low-pass filter. Low frequencies pass perfectly. On the other hand, super-duper high frequencies get eliminated. And that matches with an intuitive analysis of this circuit. Remember that at low frequencies, capacitors act like open circuits. So at something like DC, this capacitor acts like an open circuit and is basically not in the circuit at all. Since that cap's not there, there's not any path for current to flow. So if there's no current flowing through this resistor, then there's no voltage being lost through the resistor. So as a result, the output voltage equals the input voltage. So that matches with the more formal calculation we just did. Well, what about at high frequencies? So at very high frequencies, what does a capacitor look like? Well, a capacitor would start to look like a closed circuit. So it would look a little something like this, in which case the output is essentially being shorted to ground for very high frequency signals. And as a result, the output would equal 0. So that kind of intuitive analysis matches with our more detailed analysis down here. Now, the last thing I promised to show you was that omega C is indeed the half-power point. So let me explicitly write out what the frequency response is. It's omega C over j omega plus omega C, where here I've plugged in j omega for S. That's my frequency response. Now, let's play a game where I'll take this and multiply it by its complex conjugate. This is a trick we can do in order to get the magnitude squared of the frequency response. This is a property of complex numbers that only takes a couple of lines to prove. Luckily, complex conjugation is a really convenient operation. It commutes kind of over everything. It doesn't just commute over addition and subtraction, as some things do. It will also commute over division and multiplication and other things. Complex conjugation is a wonderfully convenient operation. So here I'll have omega C over minus j omega plus omega C. So that's the result of that complex conjugation. And so the reason this particular structure is nice is that, notice that the cross terms cancel. I'll have a j omega times omega C from these outer terms. I'll have a minus j omega C here, and those obviously cancel. So what I'm left with is j omega times minus j omega. When I multiply the two j's together, that gives me a minus sign that cancels with this minus sign. So I'm just left with omega squared. And then I'll have an omega C squared. So if you think about usual expressions for power in a circuit, for something like a resistor, you'll see like power is equal to the square of the voltage over the resistance. Well, if you think about expressions like that for a while, it makes sense to think about this magnitude squared expression as something that affects power. So what I would like to ask is, what value would make this expression equal to 1/2? Well, I have omega c squared here. I have omega c squared here. It's not too hard to see that it would be for where omega squared is equal to omega c squared. In other words, it's for omega equals omega c. So omega c is the frequency for which you get half power out relative to the power you would get at DC. So that was for the low-pass filter. Let's see how that changes for the high-pass filter. So I want to switch the role of the capacitor and the resistor. So now the capacitor's up here and the resistor's down here. This isn't 1 over CS anymore, this is R. This isn't R anymore, it's 1 over CS. And then let's see what changes. I'll have R in the numerator of my voltage divider. The denominator stays the same. So when I multiply the numerator and the denominator by CS, I would wind up with an RCS here in the numerator. And then when I divide the numerator and denominator by RC, I'll wind up with an S sitting here in the numerator. And now I have an S in the numerator over here when I make the substitution of omega c equal 1 over RC. Now, in addition to having a pole at minus omega c, I have a 0. So just as poles are the places where the transfer function blows up, zeros are the place where the transfer function is 0. And quite obviously, if I set s equal to 0, well, that gives me 0 for my transfer function. So I would indicate that 0 with a little circle that's at the origin. So let's see what happens here. Well, I'll have an s in the numerator that when I plug in j omega gives me a j omega in the numerator. So what happens in the case of plugging in 0? So then I'll have a 0 over 0 plus omega c. So that gives me a 0 at DC for the high-pass filter, which makes sense. For a high-pass filter, it's nice to have any low frequencies getting eliminated, and in particular, a constant going in gets eliminated. So what about the limit as it goes to infinity? Well, let's think about the two terms I have here. I've got a j omega up here. I have a j omega down here. As omega goes to infinity, then this constant here is going to seem very, very, very small in comparison to these terms that are going to infinity. So it effectively is going to become unimportant as omega goes to infinity. So I'm left with something along the lines of a limit of j omega in the numerator and a j omega in the denominator, and that's the same. So in the limit, this is going to go to 1. So it's the opposite of the low-pass case. Here, instead of high frequencies getting eliminated, high frequencies pass through, and a theoretical infinitely high frequency passes through without any problem. Now, what about the question about the half power point? Instead of omega c's here in the numerator that we had for the low-pass case, we would have a j omega, plugging in for that s in the numerator. Complex conjugate of that would be minus j omega. And again, this j times the j will give me a minus that's going to cancel with that minus sign, leaving me with omega squared in the numerator. And I can use the same sort of logic I did earlier. If I let omega squared equals omega c squared, then it's pretty easy to see that this is 1/2. It's not as obvious to see it if you don't know the answer already, so we can write this out a little more explicitly. I'll say that 1/2 is equal to omega squared over omega squared plus omega c squared. And really what I'm asking is, for what omega is this true? Let's see, so I could cross multiply here, and then I'll have 2 omega squared on the right, then I'll have omega squared plus omega c squared on the left. If I subtract omega squared from each side, I get omega c squared equals omega squared. So of course the half power point is for the place where omega equals omega c. So it's the same for either the high pass or the low pass filter. The last thing I want to mention here is that if we look at this careful, detailed analysis, which we did, we can do an intuitive analysis to make sure things are consistent. So if we look up here, what happens at DC? At DC, this capacitor is like an open circuit. So there, the voltage is tied to ground through a resistor. There's no place interesting for current from the input to flow. So the resistor is basically tying this voltage to ground. There's no voltage being across the resistor because no current is flowing. So this voltage is equal to 0. It's equal to ground. That's what happens at DC, which matches our more mathy analysis. And let's see, what about high frequencies? Well, at high frequencies, this capacitor is effectively a short circuit, and then the input and the output are directly connected together. The voltage source that we always assume is present here, this ideal voltage source that's driving this input voltage, that's happily producing whatever current it needs to go down through this resistor, and the output voltage is directly shorted to the input, so the output's the same as the input. So everything matches up.